Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. As always, I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and I'm really excited today because we have a really very talented guest on the show, someone who has actually established a career as an independent artist and is working their way up, continuing to grow. They are a bilingual hip hop artist from the Bay Area and an educator. They also have a brand new full length album coming out October 1st called Flex Machina. Please welcome to the show for the first time, Lil MC. Say hi.
Hey everyone, what's going on?
Hey, thank you so much for coming on. You are a jack of all trades. I've been reading up on you, and as we discussed off air, there's so many things that you do. But please introduce yourself to the listeners and tell us a little bit about you. Who is Lil MC, and what all do you do?
Man, I do a lot of things. But first and foremost, I would say everything I do is rooted in hip hop and hip hop culture. I'm a hip hop educator, so I work for a nonprofit as the program coordinator there. And what I do is I develop curriculum for kids K through college, actually, and we teach them about the true, authentic history of hip hop. And we teach them all the different artistic elements. But in addition to being a program coordinator, I specialize in the women's empowerment department. So I throw women's empowerment summits. I've built out a curriculum with my colleague and collaborator, Amani Jade, and we teach about the female pioneers of the culture and just help kind of build women's self esteem in a male dominated genre. Aside from that, I'm the founder of Queens of the Underground. So, again, I'm really trying to, promote women and advocate for women in hip hop by creating opportunities for them to further their own careers and just kind of expose people to the diversity of women's stories, because we really only see one hypersexualized narrative being pushed out into the mainstream. And so it's really a passion of mine to expose people to all the different flavors of women hip hop music that exists out there. But, I'm also a producer, I'm a rapper, singer. I dabble in piano, and
Oh,
I do a lot. Of, I do a lot of stuff. I'm a crazy person, and I'm a mom. I'll say that. That's another really important title that I have.
that's a very important title. One parent to another, I salute you. That's the most hardest achievement of all.
Okay, how old's your child?
He's 8. I'm a stepfather, but he's been a part of my life for the last 5 years, and I am where I am today because of him.
Hey, we step parents play such an important role in children's lives, and sometimes even more difficult than biological parents. So salute to you.
Thank you. Well, let's bring this back to you now. Um, you have this amazing full length album coming out. As we established, you've done a lot. You can go check out your music right now on Spotify and other music platforms. You have a ton of EPs out there, a great amount of singles. But tell us about this new album coming out.
Man, I'm so excited to drop this album. I have been working on it for 2 years, and shockingly, the music was not the hardest part or did not take the longest. It was doing all the back end stuff, getting all the paperwork, the cover art. Yeah, it's remarkable how long that takes, and people don't realize how important it is. But it's been a 2 year process, and I've actually gone through different distributors in the process of it. I had to deal with a lot of hassle, different music industry issues. And so not only has it equipped me with, this beautiful body of work that I'm extremely proud of, but it also equipped me with a lot of teachable moments and something that I plan on kind of using to help benefit other up and coming artists. Because as you and I and probably everyone knows, the music industry is incredibly predatory and exploitive. And I just really, aside from just making art and being an artist, I'm I'm really grounded in helping other people pursue their dreams and tap into their own artistry and not have to go through the same horrible experiences that I have if I can help prevent that. So I've been really sharing my process with listeners, and that's why I'm really grateful to be on this platform.
Thank you. I mean, that's awesome to hear too, because like we need more people like you in the music industry. And honestly, I come from the film world, so we need it in the film world. And I know that we're trying to take steps. A lot of people like say, "Oh, the industry is taking these steps," but it's really not the industry. It's people like you. It's the people that are on the ground doing the work, putting the effort in, and really changing things from the inside out. So you got a long journey ahead of you, but it looks like you're already making way. Excuse me, making waves.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So what is the concept for this album?
Yeah, so I'm really deeply inspired by science fiction. I read a lot of science
Love it.
literature. I love science fiction films. I really love the symbolism in it, and I'm specifically kind of enthralled and inspired by dystopia, futuristic dystopic films. And really, what inspired this album. I won't say that there's really heavy themes of dystopia. It's not like a cosplay album or anything like that, but just aesthetically with the visuals, this is inspired by one of my favorite science fiction um, movies, Ex Machina, as well as Ghost in a Shell. Um,
Classics.
yeah, I love those movies. And there is, you'll hear it in the production. I produced a third of the album and co-produced another third of it, and then I had other producers on it as well. But you'll hear, sonically a lot of science fiction vibes, a lot of kind of big ambient synthetic sounds, heavy bass lines, glitches, things of that nature that kind of nod to science fiction. And then, in addition to that, a lot of the themes that I do talk about, while it is pretty diverse, um, I'm really interested in us exploring artificial intelligence and what consciousness is. And as we continue kind of exploring, um, you know, what we can do technologically and how we can advance ourselves, what do we end up leaving behind? And I think that's a lot of times what some of my favorite movies kind of uncovers, like, are we losing our own humanity as we try to technologically advance? And so there are some bars in there that you'll hear, but that's what really inspired the album. It's crazy, I know, and
I
it's
think
not
that's awesome.
for hip hop, but my vibe.
It's great for hip hop. Do something different. I like that. And as a sci-fi nerd myself, which by the way, for those of you who are listening, I know a lot of your fans have heard your music, but if you haven't heard Lil MC before, check out a lot of her early work. There's a ton of Star Wars references. I heard those lyrics. I
Yep.
got them.
Hey,
Um,
Star Wars,
and
right?
there you go. I love it. Rebel scum. That's what's
Yeah.
up. But what's cool about sci-fi is sci-fi. A lot of people think like, oh, it's just something silly and weird and out there. It's like, but sci-fi can be really deep and meaningful. And it sounds like to you this has been a passion project, and you sound very hands-on. I mean, you just said you were very hands-on with it all. I mean, producing is no little feat itself. Not to mention the fact that you wrote and you rapped and you sang. So, kind of take me through some of the technical aspects of putting this all together. Where did this start and how did it end?
Yeah, no, it's been definitely a journey, but everything was really intentional. And so, like you were kind of saying earlier, I do have a lot of EPs, and some of my earlier work was really heavily more inspired by comic books. I actually created a comic book to release those projects. But for this album, I really wanted every single song to have a purpose. And so I looked at artists that continue to inspire me. So one of the songs in the album, for instance, it's called Pyramid Scheming, but one of the artists that really inspired me or groups was Run the Jewels. Their songs are
Nice.
really cinematic, and I hear them in tons of movies. And so I really wanted to create a song that I felt like could be sync placed in a big science fiction film. And so when creating the song, number one, I was like, okay, I want, what does pyramid scheming mean to me? And it really kind of like took jabs at like the current landscape of like the political landscape, hyper wokeness, as I will. Like, what are you actually conscious and aware of what's going on, or are you just kind of like calling yourself woke and branding yourself in that way? But as far as the production of it, I use these. We had these really big drums, and everything just felt like a big cinematic anthemic song. And so when I created that song, for example, everything had an intention behind it. I thought about, I wanted this to be I want this song to be performed in an anthem Kanye West style. I want this song to be in some crazy Mad Max type flick. I want the music video
Nice.
to give that energy. So that's just one of the 15 records, but that's the type of intention I put behind every single song.
That's awesome. And I love all of it so far. I'm excited to listen to it. The album hasn't dropped yet, but I'm looking forward to it. So I wanted to ask you, is there any particular songs on the album that you're really looking forward to everyone hearing and maybe has potential for a possible video in the future?
Okay, so I'm actually planning to do videos for every single song on the album. And
Hey.
every video is going to be inspired by a different science fiction film.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
I
that's
love it.
it's gonna be cool. Um, it's hard because I really love all the songs on my project, but the kind of lead single is a song called "They Don't Need Me," and I actually created that entire song when I was in London at a really cool studio called Choices Studio, and we produced the song, wrote it, recorded it, and mixed it all in the same day, and we even did like a video for it. So it was like a very intense 5 hours there. We
Wow.
like, so and it ended up being one of my favorite songs I've ever created. It was inspired by one of my favorite artists, Know the Product, who is another Latina bilingual female rapper. And it also has a little Jersey Club remix in there, which I just
Okay.
love Jersey Club. So it's really unique in that. But the video, the inspiration is going to be kind of what inspired the entire album, which is the film Ex Machina. So I'm going to be playing the uh, android or cyborg, if you will, that character. And we're going to kind of reenact a lot of the main points of that film, but I don't want to give away too much of it, but that's a video that I'm really excited about. So
Fair enough. No spoilers. I get it.
it's going to be a lot of men getting killed. I'm sorry,
But
but
don't apologize to me. That sounds awesome. That's like the best
I'm
sci-fi.
posting as hell, that kind of theme. Like, yeah, it's going to be a
I think that's
lot of,
awesome.
yeah,
And something I kind of forgot to focus on here is the fact that you are bilingual, and it's evident in your music. As someone who just moved from Louisiana to Los Angeles, I say just moved up in here about 8 years now,
oh wow,
but a part of my job is working with the neighborhoods. It's literally in my job description as a location manager. So being bilingual is something that I have been trying to learn. I've been slowly learning my Spanish, and listening to your music, I really love it because you blend English and Spanish language so well, and it's very well pronunciated. So there are times where like I actually can understand what you're saying in Spanish just as easy as the English parts. I'm like, oh, I like that. And I was told, as you know, if you're wanting to learn Spanish, it's good to listen to Spanish music.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
what made you, or I guess what inspired you to add that into your music, especially as someone who's performing in America with a predominantly English speaking industry?
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of great questions. So first and foremost, my dad is from Venezuela. He's from Caracas, and so that's a part of my identity that I hold on really strongly to. If we go deeper into my story, we can kind of discuss why that is. But to keep it kind of surface level, my father came here and because of what was going on politically in Venezuela, married my mother and ended up staying here, not really feeling safe enough to return. But he ended up really wanting to assimilate, and I think that goes into a lot of there's a lot of different types of mentalities, I think, when you're an immigrant, and his, I think, was a lot of fear of having to go back to a country where he knew that was unsafe for him, and so he actually never taught us Spanish growing up, which was something that I was really resentful of. So I took it upon myself to learn Spanish because I really wanted to be able to communicate with my abuela, my tias, and my all of my family that kind of had dispersed throughout the world after what had been going on politically in Venezuela, and some had chose to stay there. But I did it because I really wanted to connect with my family. So I actually graduated with a degree in Spanish as well as a degree in psychology, and then I lived abroad. But I had my son at the time, and so I didn't want to go live in a South American country with a small kid by myself as a young woman, and so I decided to go and live in Spain for 4 months and study abroad there. I also had family living in Spain at the time, so it just felt like a safer route for me. And so I actually, a lot of the Spanish that you hear is Spain, Castellano Spanish.
Yeah.
So my accent is really reminiscent of that. Interestingly enough, though, I lived in Bilbao, and so Bilbao, there's a Basque country, and so they also speak Basque or Euskera. So I actually learned a little bit of that, like just very minimal, but it was just an interesting experience. And so why I really chose to take on learning Spanish, aside from just my own personal reasons, is musically. I think that you have a lot more broader reach and you have a lot more ability to expand your fan base. Latin, the Latin world is taking over right now, and I just find that they being able to speak more than one language just allows you to kind of open up the possibilities for who you're able to connect with, and how you're able to really just think in general, because
Yeah.
it's not just the words you're choosing, but the way people think culturally is really, you can learn through someone's different cultural experience once you learn their language, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that's why a lot of people have told me, and my coworkers and friends have said, "Hey, if you really want to learn the language, listen to the music, watch some of these films and like just listen, absorb." And that's been really helpful for me. And of course, like I said, with your music that you have, I really enjoyed it because it was like the flow did not stop. It was just all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, wait, she's speaking Spanish now." Like, it was so perfectly timed, and it was almost like you even if you don't know Spanish, you understand what it is that you're saying. It's really hard to describe, but I like it. It works really well. And I love what you said about wanting to put that out there because you're right. The Latin world is taking off. The influences are there. People are finally kind of learning to absorb and enjoy what you guys have to offer as a culture to us. Because America is a giant nation full of so many cultural identities. So it's good to educate yourself, especially if you live in a small bubble like where I'm from, to get out of that and really embrace the other world around you. So, and forgive me for comparing you, but I feel like in a way you're the Selena of hip hop because that's the last time we really saw someone of that level to actually use the cultural language barriers of English and Spanish, and it worked really well. I mean, to this day, everyone still idolizes and listens to that music. Not to mention, she was a jack of all trades as well.
No, she was amazing. I got to give my hats off to, I mean, there's actually a ton of underground female Latina bilingual rappers. And
Throw them out there. Let's hear
yeah,
it.
I mean, okay, Snow the Product. Everyone go listen to her. She is my idol. I'm a huge fan. Bia is also a really, really fire bilingual rapper. I think a lot of people are familiar with her now. Also, I love my LA rappers, Bell Nine. We have a song together. Reverie also is amazing. So Nitty Scott, she's actually an artist that we brought out here for Queens of the Underground. And so I'm loving to see how many bilingual Latinas there are just dominating underground hip hop right now. And they inspire me. So, if I can just continue carrying on the torch, then, I feel like at least my job has been complete in one fashion.
There you go. And I mean, as an educator, you've already educated me on so many people that I wasn't even aware of. I do know of Snow the Product. I know Vel 9 because I actually just heard her for the first time on your music when I was listening to it earlier. So
Oh,
it's good to know like it's already opened up worlds of music for me to get into. Normally, I'm not big into the hip hop music. That's actually something my girlfriend really enjoys. So I always try and go to her like, "Hey, what do you think of this artist? Do you like this? What can you tell me? Help me out. I want to have a really good interview."
oh, that's
So
awesome.
she's my go-to because she loves the hip hop and punk. She's a big punk person.
Me too. Hey,
There
I'm
you
big into
go.
punk.
But moving along back into the subject of your album here, as an independent artist, everyone has that journey that they start on, and it's how they start it, and then to get to where they want to be. Which I feel a lot of folks out there, especially in the music scene, want to get to your level. You have done a lot. We haven't even discussed the fact that you've had music selected for video games. You've had music put out there. You've put on performances all over. You just mentioned being in London, England. And you told me earlier you did a tour recently, and you were in my home state of Louisiana, down in my favorite town, New Orleans. So, like, to get to that level, can you take me through the journey for you of how it all started as an independent artist, the creativity that you put into it, using the bilingual language of the mix of English and Spanish, and then really what just got you into hip hop in general?
Yeah, no, I love that question. I think that I get a lot of folks that I offer sit downs with, who want a little bit of mentorship, and they're like, "I want to be doing what you're doing," um, and it's not a simple question. And I think anyone in the music industry will tell you there's no formula. For me in particular, I think you need to spend a good 10 years developing your craft, not even your brand, not even your messaging, just the craft of whatever you're trying to make a career out of. For me, I've been making music since I was 5 years old. I started writing songs, and then I started playing piano, and then I was classically trained in piano, and I started dabbling in other instruments. And it wasn't until high school that I started freestyling, and really what had drawn me to hip hop in the first place was me trying to make sense of a lot of the traumatic experiences that I went through and had actually repressed a lot of the memories. And so freestyling was kind of like a catharsis for me because I just started rapping about stuff and I didn't even know I had those feelings, you know? And so then I really became obsessed with it. And then I started really deeply studying the culture and studying a lot of, pioneers of the culture. My biggest influences were Biggie, Lauryn Hill, Left Eye from TLC, Tupac. Atmosphere was a big influence of mine. Lil Wayne, Lil
Love
Kim, Big
Atmosphere.
L. So a lot of like lyrical artists, whether it was like lyrical, more like flex and wordplay, if it was lyrical on a deeper messaging. And then after that, I started recording and really what got I was able to really put myself out there by doing something that was probably one of the more scary ways to put yourself out there, which was doing rap battles. And I really just had to completely put myself into that 100%, no fear, going against men that were twice my size. I was like 21 years old, just had a baby, didn't know what I was doing, but I ended up really winning, and then I started getting invited to more rap battles, more ciphers, and I would win those too. I'd lose sometimes too, but I was able to really develop relationships with a lot of people just by putting myself into situations that were really intimidating and scary, but really just having that belief in yourself, like, nah, I have something to say, and I think I am able to inspire others through what I'm doing. And so I'm going to do this, even if it means putting myself in uncomfortable, intimidating situations. And from there, I was able to really develop more of my brand, my sound, my messaging. And that, has taken 10 more years of time to do. And so I think it's just a step-by-step process and really, number one, focusing on your skill level, research, putting yourself out there and networking and building with the community that you want to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, that's a scary thing to do too, to put yourself out there. But it paid off, and look at the doors that it opened up, the opportunities that have come along, the things that you have made for yourself. You did that, and that's what I really like to do with the show is inspire others to be like, you have to have the patience. It was a 10-year journey, and then add another 10 years, and you are now as someone who has released a ton of music, a ton of singles. You've got at least I think 3 EPs. I could be wrong. Um,
Yeah, 3 EPs, a mixtape, and then a bunch of singles. Yep.
Yeah, and now you have your first full-length album, which I believe you mentioned 15 tracks. That's incredible. You're on the level now. You have made it to this point. Um, I wanna ask as well, that journey for the album, all in all, what was just getting the album put together? What was that timeline for you? And then the technical aspects, did you still produce yourself? Did you work within studios? I know you did mention other producers that came on, but can you just kind of take us through some of the technical aspects of it? And because you're at such a unique level in your career right now as an artist, can you help compare that to your early days of independent producing?
Yeah, definitely. So, I had my partner, and he's also like a really close collaborator of mine, Unlearn the World. He executive produced this project, and so just a little bit of discernment. What does executive producer means? It doesn't mean that they're writing my songs. That would drive me crazy if people ask if he writes my songs again. No one
You are a
believes.
writer. Let's make that
Oh my
clear.
gosh. I'm like, yeah, you got my freestyle rap battles too? Sheesh. No, but an executive producer is essentially someone that gives insight into the overall creativity of the project, right? So I would write songs, I would record, and I'd bring them into the studio. We would co-produce a lot of the beats together. We'd bounce around ideas, what kind of like what where do we hear this song? Is this something we'd hear on terrestrial radio? Is this something that we would hear really, setting off in Latin countries? We would just ideate on um, just the project as a whole together. And he was someone that I really trust his instincts on as far as music goes because he's a really successful rapper and producer himself. But just as far as the technical aspects go, yeah, it was like really identifying what kind of genres and what kind of markets do I want to target with this album. And so I chose very carefully the features. I have a lot of features on this project. I think I have, man, at least 10 different features.
Oh wow, ton
So,
of artists.
and I have a lot of artists from different countries all over the United States, Chicago, New York, LA,
Nice.
New Mexico. And then, like I said, I actually even had one of my students collaborate, one of my mentees that I've been mentoring for the past 4 years.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, so I really wanted to make this like a multi-generational and diverse sounding album, but still have this cohesion. So I think as far as, the technical aspects, it's identifying who the features are, identifying what sounds I want, identifying the theme of the song, figuring out how to get them to the studio, figuring out how we're going to turn this around. And then also figuring out, okay, now that the songs are going to be out soon, do we want to do a video for this together? Are we going to do a performance? Like how can we best market this song that's going to expose us to the most amount of fans possible that it would resonate with? Because that's another thing too, is like, I don't make pop music, right? So it's like, I'm not making music that's going to resonate with everyone. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Who is going to resonate with it? And how do we get this music in front of those people?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it does sound very intentional and directional. I mean, it's a sci-fi concept as well. So that right there really narrows down the amount the I guess you could say the focus group. It really narrows down who you're going to be speaking to. But that doesn't mean that others won't find it fascinating and then educate them on like, oh, I wasn't aware of this in the sci-fi world. Like everyone knows Star Wars. Not everyone knows Ex Machina. Not everyone knows Mad Max. Well, I guess now they do, but
They do. And it's
but I
like,
think
I don't think that the themes of sci-fi are so prevalent that it's something that's just there beneath the surface. You know what I'm saying? It's
mhm,
just this underlying theme. But a lot of the music is tapping into trap, West Coast hip hop, uh,
cool.
Jersey club. There's even like kind of like punk elements to it. Like there's all these different genres. I'm all about genre bending, and so you're not gonna hear the same sound in any song. They're all different as far as every aspect of it. So I think that people that just like music in general, it'll resonate with if you're into the type of raw hip hop that I'm going to be giving
Yeah. Well, and I mean, now that you described, the subgenres of everything that you're using, like you said, genre bending, now you've opened that door back up of hitting all those fans, of getting in their direction. Now, like, oh, I like this, and leading them to other music as well. And I love the fact that earlier, you had mentioned, some of your inspiration from Run the Jewels. That's classic hip hop. So it makes me excited as a listener to hear what this album is going to be like, because to me that implies I'm going to get that classic hip hop sound, which I really do enjoy. That I like classic hip hop. That's kind of what I grew up on as a kid of the 90s. So that, and Run the Jewels and A Tribe Called Quest, like those are my favorites.
you.
um
You'll get that in there too. There's some New York boom bap style hip hop in there for sure. So like
yeah. And
it's a little bit of everything.
right. Yeah. And I was gonna say, and it sounds like because I'm excited to hear that, I'm going to be introduced to more stuff that I'm not familiar with that could make me a fan, as my girlfriend has tried to do consistently.
Yeah, I try to do that within the song. I'll do switch ups in the same song. So I have this song
That's
called
cool.
"Save Me Later" that's like sonically, it's just really cheeky and funny lyrically. So anyone that hears the song is laughing. It's like listening to stand up comedy in a song. It's
Nice.
like, but it's like very Doja Cat as far as like the production, because I wanted to kind of tap into her fan base as well. But at the very end of the song, it switches up, and I start speaking Spanish, and then it's a reggaeton song. So
I
you'll
love it.
get switch ups. I also have a favela funk song where it's favela funk the whole time, and at the very end, you have a four to the floor rhythm, and it turns into like a house song. So it's like switch ups, so that you're like, whoa, what am I listening to? You know,
It actually it fits the theme of sci-fi. It's
right?
it's mind bending. I
Yes.
love that.
You're like, what? They were aliens the whole time? Like,
um so and I wanted to ask too, the experience, the comparison with creating this new album to previous works. What what was the I'm trying to figure out how to word this properly. I guess what would be the main difference that you noticed with this album making it compared to your previous works, and what did you pull that experience from your previous works to really help make this album grow and become what it is?
yeah, no, thank you for reminding me about that aspect of your question. I think it's a really important question. I think the number one difference between this project and my previous EPs is um, a lot more intention overall, universally, in everything that I did, and everything was bigger with this project. But I think also the themes were different. So my first mixtape I ever created was called Pray for Gods. Sorry, those are my reminders that keep popping up. My bad.
That's okay.
I'm like a very organized lady. But anyways, Pray for God, spelled Prey. It was a really, really dark project because, like I said, what got me into hip hop was a lot of dark experiences, a lot of trauma, and that's really what made me want to create, was just to kind of figure out what was going on inside internally, and it's what made me want to get a degree in psychology. And now I'm a huge advocate for mental health. So, like, a lot of my earlier music, you'll hear like, a lot of dark themes. But then after I started really collaborating with Unlearn the World, the executive producer, he was explaining to me like, wow, you have this really vibrant personality and your music is so dark. You really should try to tap into some more fun aspects of your personality instead of talking about death every 2 seconds. And I'm like, you're right. Yeah. It's because it is a lot. It's like none of the music I was making was danceable. It was just like bars and scary psychotic inner thoughts.
Yeah.
So I pushed myself to make music that was a little bit more enjoyable while still talking about some real stuff. And I think
Right.
that for me has always been the mission. Like, how do we talk about stuff that's real, but in a way that's digestible? So even the next body of work after Pray for Gods, my EPs, I had 2 EPs called Punish Her. And that was really themed around comic books, which I also am obsessed with.
I really liked that EP, by the way.
Thank you.
A lot of
Thank
good
you.
songs in there. OMG was great.
Yeah, that got in a lot of different video games, but I would say there wasn't a lot of cohesion as far as themes. I was just making music. So I think there was a little, there wasn't as much intention. So the growth process really came with creating intention, because I know as a consumer, my favorite albums are ones that are super intentional, from the intros to the skits to the features, like To Pimp a Butterfly. There's so much intention behind that. And I can listen to that album over and over because I'm just learning new things every time I listen to it. Same with my favorite books and same with my favorite movies. So I just wanted to put a lot of effortfulness behind this project. And I think that's what I would really recommend others do, is after, they want to take their music to the next level after they've been working on their craft for a while, is what intention are you putting behind it? What do you want the consumer to leave feeling with? Because it's not just about you as an artist, it's about what you're creating, what you're putting out into the universe.
I mean, it sounds extremely cathartic what you did in the very beginning, getting your emotions out there, understanding yourself, your mental state, and growing from that experience. So, as an artist, it's great when we grow, not just with our work, but in general. I try telling people all the time, like, I'm not changing, I'm um, morphing in a way. It's like I'm becoming better. Like, I still love who I am, I know where I'm from, but I'm also trying every day to be better than the day before. And I
Mhm.
think as an artist, you should apply that as well, because for you, it's clearly working. You know who you are. You studied who you are. You had your dark beginnings, and then you were able to get that out there, and then be like, okay, now what? Where am I at now? And then you start really developing as an artist more work and becoming more diverse. So I think that's cool. I think it's awesome. Um, and I'm really excited about this new album that's coming out. Again, it's going to be Flex Machina. It drops October 1st. So as of this airing, go listen to it. Pause this recording right now, pause this podcast, and go check out Lil MC's Flex Machina. It's streaming on all music platforms. uh, but I want to start getting into a few questions, and I do have one more question. It's a financial question. I don't need numbers, but I do like to ask, especially with artists that are beginning their journey. As an independent artist, in the very beginning stages, you're putting most of the finance up front. You're putting all the money into yourself, into your product, into what you're trying to get out there. Obviously, for you, it looks and sounds like it's finally starting to pay off. But was that journey worth it for you? And is there any advice financially you can give folks to help them make the right choices? I know that you've dealt with shady dealings before. I know that you said that you've had, your trauma and experiences in the industry that's not that great. Is there anything that you can advise folks on financially to be smart about when they're starting their journey as an independent artist and they're self-funded?
Yeah, no, I'll admittedly say I'm not the greatest expert when it comes to finances. I wish they would have taught us more about that in school. I
Same
have a
here.
lot of student loan debt and things of that nature. But what I will put out there is being an artist is not for playing it safe. It's just not, you're an entrepreneur, you're an artist. Like there's no roadmap and blueprint for success. And so my biggest advice to you is like, are you willing to take that leap of faith on yourself? Do you believe that much in your art and your creativity and what you're trying to put out into the universe that you're willing to risk it all? And so, if you aren't going to bet on yourself, who is? Who's going to bet on you? You have to bet on you. So I just want people, you can always do music and art as a hobby, but if you're trying to make this a profession, there's nothing but risks that you're going to take. And that's just what it is. I think that I've invested a lot of money, I've lost a lot of money, I've put a lot of time, energy, everything into this. All of my time is in my music, my education, and the events that I curate. And it's not paying off as far as like nickels and dimes. If you were to say, well, how much did you spend on this beat in the studio session and how much did you get back when your royalties? But I will say this, I get booked for everything I do because of the amalgamation of everything that I am. So I'll get flown out and get to travel the world and get into cultural ambassador programs and get paid through that because I am Lil MC, the Bay Area based MC, educator, and event curator who spent and invested money and lost money in all of those areas. Does that make sense? It's like,
Yeah.
it's a risk, but I'm here and I'm surviving in one of the most expensive places in the world doing art and art education. So to me, it's a win, even if I'm not a millionaire.
Exactly. And then that's the thing I like to try and help encourage people with is knowing that like you said, it's a risk, but you have to believe in yourself. You got to take the investment yourself. If you feel that this is what you need to do, then you need to back it up and you need to do it. But if you're just getting into this for money, for fame, it may not be exactly what you're expecting unless you already come from money and fame.
That part. Then I don't know what to say to y'all. That's a different lane entirely. Yeah, I think that it's a beautiful thing to have faith in yourself and to really just believe in what it is you're doing, and then just knowing also it's not going to be a straight uphill trajectory. Just like it's not going to be that in life, like all the darkness I was talking about. Like I've had setbacks, and then I've had to pull myself back out. It's more of like a crazy up and down roller coaster, and so just because things aren't always going on the up and up, don't give up on yourself. Maybe figure out where you need to make pivots and stuff like that. But if you're the type of person that gives up after one obstacle, then this is not the lane for you because it's a difficult industry, and just like the film industry. And I'm sure you've experienced that as well, right? It's like
Oh
if
yeah.
your film loses money, are you just gonna give up and be like, all right, I'm gonna just, work insurance? Or are
Yeah.
you gonna be like, no, that didn't work out. What lessons did I learn from that? And how can I make pivots and adjustments to continue doing what I love because I believe in this?
I like to call it, I constantly succeed and fail, and from every failure, those are actually the best moments for me because it's like, all right, I got it, I figured it out, I learned now, I won't forget that, and that's the best way to grow. You got to have the downside to it, is financially speaking. Like you have to have those moments, like that really sucks, but now moving forward, it's the best way to learn, and you did it. You can take the pride in knowing that you did that.
I mean, hey, but I'm doing the same thing every day. Like I've lost so much money, and there were periods of time where I was like, I just not built for this. And you have to pull yourself out of that and be like, no, I am built for this. That was the worst. I'm not going to do that again. Or maybe I will. It's just being a human and having these experiences. And honestly, it's what makes it beautiful is you not knowing what's going to happen. And then just like those bad experiences, you'll have this amazing experience and be like, whoa, I can't believe this happened. I can't
Yeah.
believe I'm doing this festival. I can't believe I'm performing in this random country that I never thought I'd be in. It's like you got to take the good with the bad.
Yep. It's perfect. Perfectly put. I love it. Hey, hope you've enjoyed listening so far and watching. We're just going to take a quick little break here. Lil MC was incredibly nice to give us a song from her new album, Flex Machina. This is They Don't Need Me. It's streaming on all music platforms, so go check it out right now. And as you're listening, here's a little taste.
choices, big time.
They don't need me, they don't want me, they don't choose me, they can't stop me. I'm not perfect, I'm not genius, they just hurt me, leave me bleeding. Got here on my own, they've been showing love, but they hate me on the low. They've been throwing shade, cause they hate the way I grow. Now I'm in the skybox, so look out from below. I drop bombs and make the time stop, don't let me get in my zone. No, don't let me get in my pocket, let the bodies drop, then I chalk it. I don't lip sync, make ribs break, my hip bang like a rocket. Check for the carnage, I'm responsible. I'm a hard body, my abdominals so abominable, I'm a monster. Give 'em whiplash, then wig spin at the gym strap. Get big bags, no big chains, I've been snatched. My Tim's black like him back from the past. All of my heroes from Brooklyn, mobbing and deep in it, shook 'em. Yeah, Muhammad Ali when I juke 'em. They had the belt, but I took it.
They don't need me, they don't want me, they don't choose me, they can't stop me. I'm not perfect, I'm not genius, they just hurt me, leave me bleeding. They don't need me, they don't want me, they don't choose me, they can't stop me.
Can I stop me? I am not perfect, I am not
They
genius.
just hurt me, leave me bleeding.
Go hard in the paint like I'm 6'8". I'm MJ in 97. Blue face, blue in the face, my flu game on a different level. My new name is Luke Cage. I kill the game like a shooting range. I'm a dime, you lose change. I'm Bruce Wayne with the wood grain. Lost a little moolah, but I never lost the mojo. Le quiere mami chulo, pero mírame mis ojos. No me tocas a mi culo, no me miras a mi coño. Got a shooter aiming at your head like Rambo. Call him GoPro. The gas, I stop, I swerve, I tip, I break, I hit the curb. Your man, a dog, my kitty purse. Don't give me shit, forget curves. Lord have mercy, hoes be thirsty. They gon' die choking. Lord, you curse me cause you birthed me. With my eyes open, I see the truth, but they lying on me. I see the proof, but they hide it from me. I murder all these bitches, make a Netflix pilot on me.
They don't want me, they don't choose me, they can't stop me. I'm not perfect, I'm not genius, they just hurt me, leave me bleeding. They don't need me, they don't want me, they don't choose me, they can't stop me.
Can I stop me? I am not perfect, I am not
They
genius.
just hurt me, leave me bleeding.
That was They Don't Need Me by Lil MC off her new album, Flex Machina. And again, I apologize. I may be butchering that title. It's just my poor accent. I'm so sorry, guys. But do yourself a favor. Go support Lil MC right now. Check out her new album that's streaming. Share the love and support an incredible, talented artist. And now, back to the conversation. I want to move into some fun questions now. And one of my first questions for you is, as a performer, as an artist, what has been the biggest challenge that you've had to face and overcome? And it could even be something that you are still faced with daily.
I think currently, um, what I struggle with, I think my mental health journey has been really, really remarkable and crazy. I've been sober and relapsed many times. I'm now 7 months sober again. Cali sober, I'll say that.
Hey, the sobriety is a real deal. Congrats. Even a day is good.
Yeah, it's been hard, and it I think just being grounded in discovering who I am every day, just like you were kind of touching on, like just the growth. That does not mean you're leaving behind who you are, but I think for me, I've never really felt safe anywhere having emotional expression aside from art. And so what I'm really trying to do is kind of like align my art with who I am outside of being an artist, and really make Lil MC and Megan Correa one person, one balanced human, so that I'm out having conversations as an educator or as a parent and feeling safe enough to express emotions in a healthy way, and not just putting all of my emotional, turmoil in my music. If that makes sense. It's been a really interesting journey for me in my own personal evolution, and trying to really, really be grounded in who I am. And as I grow as an artist and get more visibility, not letting the perceptions of others deter me from, or kind of misguide me, and um, have me lose faith in who I am, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think a huge challenge that a lot of people, folks that aren't aware of the mental stress and struggles that we deal with. It's something that you've already on the right path because you've acknowledged that, hey, I've got some issues that I need to work on. I have things about myself that I've got to challenge and accept and embrace and work on. I've learned from my amazing other half, who is also studying for to be a counselor and get her psychology as well. I've learned from her some of the best things that I can do is just listen. And I've applied those theories in my show, where it's like I do my best to try not to interrupt, just listen to what they're saying and let them speak. And just that alone has helped me see things about myself that I'm like, oh, I might have some mental issues. I need to figure out some trauma that's, surface level stuff, nothing big, nothing super horrifying, but small things, idiosyncrasies that like I need to work on. And I think just small things like that or big deals that people deal with, you may not be expecting it, but in the moment when you start really getting up that hill of growing and doing something creative, it's going to hit you out of nowhere. It's just going to smack you in the face and you're gonna be like, wow, I'm struggling. And to face that head on is a huge challenge. So it takes big huevos to do that.
Big huevos, yeah.
And I applaud you for that. And I think it's amazing that you found ways to not only work on that, but incorporate it in your music and share that with others out there to inspire them to be like, hey, you can do this. And mental health is a real deal. Sobriety is a real deal. I respect that. I admire that. And I think that's amazing that you deal with that and overcome it.
Thank you.
All right, so moving along here, you've been doing this for a very long time. You are very familiar with what to kind of anticipate in your process, with whether it comes to writing, producing, laying down the beats. I mean, you literally teach beats at a school for like as an educator. So like you are aware of what to expect. But is there anything unexpected that you've come across and had to face while whether it's recording or making a beat or producing, putting an album out there, just in general as an artist? Has there been something unexpected that you've had to face? And it could be something that you learned right there in the moment how to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I experience so many unexpected obstacles all the time. I think what comes to top of mind for me and what has been the most difficult as someone who really develops a love for the people that I work with is the switch ups with people. It's really unfortunate. I think that as you start to excel in your artistry and get more visibility, like I've said, people start behaving a little bit different around you. And you find that people that you've always supported start to develop different feelings towards you and kind of switch up on you. And something that has been unexpected was me realizing that um, I don't have the luxury to let everybody into my world anymore like I used to. Because people want different things from you now, because they think that you have access and resources and things of that nature. And so I've always been like a super empathetic, understanding person, and so it has been difficult for me to really kind of build more sturdy boundaries, if you will, with people,
Yeah.
and really start making my circle smaller. I was always the person that had the biggest circle, try to tap in and connect with as many people as possible because I love learning about people. But just to protect my own energy, over the past year, I've had a lot of difficult experiences with just people, and especially with artists, and so I've really had to just learn to create boundaries. I think that for me has been one of the most difficult, unexpected, I don't know, curveballs, if you will, that I've had
I,
to deal with.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like work relationships, it's something that you may not expect, because clearly you said it yourself, you weren't really expecting all of a sudden someone that you trusted, someone that was a friend, you realize like you're not here as my friend, I'm being used as your doorway. And it's like that's not what this is about. Like I think that's great for any artist out there listening to keep that in mind as you grow and as you create your work and your networking. There's a difference between networking and friendships and the
Mm.
people using that. Like I like to be open with people if like, hey, I am using you for this. That's it's good to be clear on those things instead of trying to weasel your way in because you could burn bridges, you could hurt yourself, you could act unintentionally upset and hurt others. I didn't even think about that. That's a great answer that I didn't even think about, like to not expect like your entourage that you have to put together.
Yeah, I
Uh,
love what you said, to be honest, if you don't mind me just kind of piggybacking off of that, but being communicative, like you said, like there's nothing wrong with letting someone know, hey, I have this show coming up and I'm looking for someone that can help market it. Or, hey, I have this album coming up and I'm looking for someone that might have some show opportunities in your area. Like just being very direct. There's nothing wrong with that. But trying to develop a phony friendship with someone and then asking later, or being like, hey, I hope you've been really well. By the way, can you get me on your show that you've been, like it's just kind of like a way that you have to learn how to work with people. And I think just being direct and being transparent, but also like understanding when you need to kind of create boundaries with people and not treat every single person like a friend, but more like a collaborator.
yeah. Yeah. And then over time, if you're upfront with people and you're direct about everything, then a natural relationship can form out of that where you can have that trust. Like you said, that's how you probably tightened up the people around you that you felt comfortable, like, hey, you're my confidant now,
Yep.
because they showed you that respect. And you're a mom, you got family. Family comes first, then business. That, at least that's how I view it. So I'm assuming as a parent, you see it the same way too.
The crazy thing about it is that, I got into music and a lot of the musicians around me were addicts like me. We were all messed up when we were all alcoholics and drug addicts. And if you think about it, those types of people that you have around, you're not hanging out with people because you have similar interests. It's because you have similar addictions. And so as I started, getting rid of a lot of the substances that were harmful to me, I started being like, wow, I really didn't have a lot of common with these people. And so I really need to understand better how to develop healthy relationships with people and how to not just like trust anyone that wants to talk to me, because that's not necessarily going to be the best move for me. So sorry, just to put a pin in that, you kind of led us on an interesting topic.
No, that's perfect. I mean, that's what this is about. There's no censorship here. And as long as you're comfortable discussing it, I'm cool with it too. And that's good for people to know too, is like you said, healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't always have to be addicts, or excuse me, addicts doesn't always just mean drugs and alcohol. There's people that are addicted to so many different things that you yourself might be addicted to. And then when you start getting away from that, you start realizing like, oh, I don't really have as much in common as I thought. We just shared an interest in this addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, it is what it is. Again, thank you for such a great, deep answer. I wasn't expecting.
I'm not good at surface level answers.
You understand that there are facts of life. Everyone out there understands reality. There are things that you cannot change. It is what it is. It is a fact, not an opinion. And there are things that we have to deal with. And I want to know for you, what has been a hard reality that you've had to deal with and accept? And it may be something that was discouraging to you, but you've pushed through it, or maybe you even resolved it.
I think a reality that I've had to face, and again, I guess this won't be as cut and dry as maybe some other answers are, is that not everybody is going to have the same experience as you and is not going to receive you in the way that you want them to receive you. So, as much as you might try and put good intention behind everything that you're doing, you just have to accept the fact that some people are just not going to be ready to receive whatever it is you're putting out there. Not everyone is going to be your fan. Not everyone is going to want to listen to your music, and not everyone's going to just like you just based on your appearance. Some people may have a complete a relationship with you just solely based on how they see you on social media or in a picture, and there's nothing you can really do to change that. So I think a hard fact for me has just been letting go of the fact that it doesn't matter how hard I might try to always do the right thing. It doesn't really matter, because that person doesn't want to see what you're doing. They just want to believe what they want to believe. And you just gotta let that go.
Yeah, I mean, that's a reality check too, that I think
Yeah.
everyone needs.
That
Whether
was a
you're an
hard
artist,
man. That
yeah,
was hard.
it's deep. And I'm sorry, these are the fun questions that I like to ask. I like to dig into the ups and the downs of being an artist. There are hard times, and if you want to pursue this career, you want to make something of yourself, you've got to hear what others have to say that share these moments of like, hey, there are going to be times, no matter how hard you try, someone's just not going to care.
Hmm.
And there's nothing you can do about it. That's the reality you have to accept. You cannot change that, but you can change others. You can help inspire others.
Right. Don't, and I think we are naturally fixated on the negative, and then we overlook all the positive. You have all these people that support you and are really grateful for what you're putting out there and what you're doing, but we fixate on like the one person that has something negative to say. And so what I'm really trying to work on is just letting that go. And again, it all ties into us as humans
Mm-hmm.
of feeling not valued and not worthy. And so it's like, okay, I know who I am. I know what I'm doing. Let that go and let's focus on the people that are really want to receive what I'm putting out there.
To lighten this up a little bit, to steal from one of your lyrics that I really enjoyed, is that, some people, they're just jelly like a donut. And I was like, that's great. I love that line. I needed to hear that line, and it was very helpful because we go through that. So,
The jelly,
um,
man, they out there.
and I'm going to lighten the mood even more. I'd like to ask you now, what has been the most valuable takeaway uh, from what you have been doing as an artist? Something that's helped you grow and improve as a performer.
Yeah, I mean, something really valuable. I'll kind of go. The first thing that popped into my head before you even said like as a performer is seeing the young people that I work with being inspired by what I do and feeling grateful for the effort that I put in with them. Like, and just seeing them go and really tap into their own creativity and become these amazing artists. Like I am more inspired by my students than I am by professional rappers all the time, hands down. The students that I teach in juvenile halls, the students that I teach in our programs, like they're so talented and so honest and they're just so creative. They give me more inspiration than those that are making millions, the Drakes and the Beyoncés and Rihanna's. Like, nah, you guys are not giving me the same level of inspiration as these kids. And so when I see them develop as artists after years and years of working with them and hearing the music that they make, and I'm like, what? It's amazing. And then further, when they tell me I'm one of their biggest inspirations, that makes all of this worth it. And that's why it's like so easy to let go of any other hate, because it's like, dang, I've really been here on this artistic journey with them from the inception. I don't even think they'd be where they're at if we hadn't developed this mentor-mentee relationship. And now they're the ones giving me inspiration in this studio that I'm in right now, which is the studio that I work in. So it's really
Hey, nice.
beautiful pearl circle moments like that I'm like, nothing can really take that away from me.
That's an incredible takeaway. That's a really valuable one too, because it's the next generation. It's going to be who comes after you, and you're putting the stepping stones out there for them to follow, and they're doing that. That's great. I love that. It's not just you growing and improving as an artist, but you're helping others to grow and improve as an artist. I don't think I've ever had that answer from anyone before, so that's really awesome.
So the legacy, man, it's like, man, we're all
Yeah.
going to be nothing but dust in the ground someday or wherever you end up being. But if you can just continue passing on the torch, and your gift is eternal. So yeah, it's something that inspires me all the time.
I like it. We had talked about the unexpected earlier, but now I want to ask you, what did you expect from this project? What did you want with this creation of this album and just your career in general as a hip hop artist?
What did I expect? Yeah, I mean that's hard because I don't really know if I never really have expectations with anything.
That's fair.
I always am just what I expect is to be introduced to new artists and develop new relationships and to continue growing and discovering who I am, and that's really the only expectation I can have, because you can't like I what I've learned is that you can try to map out everything and everything will go wrong. You can try your best to have a
Yeah.
release schedule, and you can try your best to plan the perfect tour route and to plan, all these things, and it's just it never goes. And so really what I'm trying to relinquish is control and just trust in in the universe and my alignment with the universe's intentions, and just going with the flow. And what that does for me is when things don't go how I planned, I let it go a lot more. It doesn't stay with me as long as it used to.
I like that. That's very nice. It allows for a smoother transition in any direction you need to continue moving forward. You don't let it slow you down. I
Yeah,
like that. That's
absolutely.
awesome. So everything that you do, you have so much on your plate right now. What drives you? What is your motivation?
I am so motivated by so many things. If you knew what my day-to-day life was, you would think I'm crazy. I do a lot. I'm program coordinator for a nonprofit hip hop education nonprofit. I'm the founder of Queens of the Underground, which means I'm constantly throwing shows. I'm constantly teaching, and then I'm also, working on my own advancement as my artist, which means like going on tours, dropping music, getting in the studio. And then aside from that, I'm working on a bunch of other creative projects, and I'm a mom, so I'm constantly busy going to football games. Like my days, I don't really have a lot of free time. But what motivates me is the possibilities. I'm constantly thinking about, man, would it be possible to do a tour with the youth I educate and go to different countries all around the world? Okay, let's see if we can make that possible. Is it possible for us to have a Grammy Award winning album? Let's see if that's possible. Is it possible to take my son to travel with me and go visit different countries and so that he can see where all his other cousins are from? Let's see if that's possible. Like, let's see what's possible, and that's what inspires me. And then, it when you used to be so depressed and suicidal, and then to flip and feel excited about life every day, it's like that doesn't go unnoticed by me. I'm just really grateful for the space that I'm in, and so it's hard for me not to wake up excited even when I do have lows. I'm still motivated because I realize like there's infinite possibilities, and I really want to just experience it as much as I can before you know I kick
I
the box.
I I love that. I love that your drive is experiencing what could happen, the possibilities, good or bad, come what may. You just want to experience that, and that drives you every day. Be like, I want to see how this works out. I want to try this out. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I love that.
You never know where you could end up, man.
Exactly. You because if you don't try, it's like Star Wars. Do or do not. There is no try.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's the best quote for you right there.
Low key, that I wish I would have made that one of the intros to my album. I had to take out. I had these really dope intros and outros from Ex Machina, but because I didn't get it cleared because it's a music
uh,
bit, I had to get rid of them. So
I understand
that
the
was
struggles
important.
of copyright. I've been
I
there.
know. I bet you have.
But hey, you know what? You did it. You saw what possibly could have happened. There you
I can
go.
I can
Example right there.
right. I can reinterpret those. So maybe someday I will. We'll see.
There you go. Look into parody. I think there's a line you can get around.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Which one went around?
Uh, you've actually dropped a lot of great knowledge on everyone today. You've been really amazing at sharing your experience and your journey with us, and I really am thankful and appreciate you taking the time. But is there anything you would like to say to anyone out there that wants to do what you do, that wants to be the next hip hop artist, or maybe they want to be an educator as well? Like they have, a gift for teaching music to others. Is there any advice you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you want to be an artist, an educator, an event curator. I think my advice is just to really do the internal work necessary to be grounded in what you want to do, so that anytime you come in, if you're faced with adversity, you're able to come out the other end relatively unscathed because you're grounded in your purpose and what you're doing, and you're doing it for more than just yourself, but to benefit, the community at large. I think if you're moving with intention and you're really grounded in who you are as a person, you can really do anything that you want to do in life. There's nothing holding you back.
Could have said it better myself. uh, as we wrap this up, again, thank you for coming on and sharing with us. And thank you for the advice, all the cool knowledge you've dropped. I appreciate you really getting deep with us too. You said some really personal things you shared with us. I think it's great for others to be able to relate to that, to know like no matter what, you can do what you need to get done. But as we wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to say? Is there anything else you would like to add to this interview before we wrap it up?
Yeah, and you actually touched on something. I'll say this really briefly. I think for me, the reason why I do think it's important to be direct and transparent and kind of share my experiences is that I've had experiences listening to podcasts where the guests on that podcast altered my entire career trajectory. So I think that if we have the courage to kind of be a little bit more honest and transparent, you never know how many lives you could impact. So, I'm grateful for you having this platform, because you really have no idea. You might have someone, a guest on this show, you might have a conversation that inspires someone to get sober, that inspires someone to take a leap of faith on themselves, or, make a huge change in their life that, you know, brings them more happiness and fulfillment. Because that literally happened to me. So
Yeah.
I
I
honestly,
hope so. I mean, that's the goal.
yeah. Yeah, no, you never know. You could have a lot of people out there that are
Mhm. Yeah,
react.
I'm not big on the ratings. I just want to make sure anyone who listens that they enjoy what's happening and they feel that inspiration to be like, I can do this because that person right there is doing it. And you don't have to copy and paste exactly what they're sharing with you. You have your own experience to live. You have your own experience to figure it out. But hopefully what they've said will help guide you on that path to be prepared for as best as you can be. But we've also learned there's tons of things that you won't expect or see coming and you figure it out.
Yeah,
Um, Thank you again, Lil MC. You are incredible. I'm super, super excited for this album now. You've made me a fan. I know my girlfriend's going to love this. I know many others out there listening are going to enjoy it. And anyone who's not big on the genre, I think they have something to look forward to because they might find something new. I'm looking forward to hearing something new. But please promote yourself, put yourself out there. How can people find you? Where can they follow you? How do we get a hold of this album? And also for anyone that is interested in reaching out about the beat making class, please put it all out there.
yeah, absolutely. So, I think the best way to follow me and see what I'm up to is just go on my Instagram. I use it like a resume. So, lilmc.music on Instagram. You can also go on my website. I need to update it more frequently, but lilmcmusic.com. If you want to tap in with me about anything, education, events, my music, DMing me works. You can also email me. I'll give you guys my music email is info@lilmcmusic.com. And my album, yeah, it's going to be out on all DSPs. If you want to support me directly, you can go to my Bandcamp and pay what you want for the album. Obviously, that is a lot more financially supportive than the fraction of a penny I get from streaming. But either way, I'm grateful if you just listen to my album and give me that fraction of a penny.
That's right. Get that fraction of a penny, which you've earned. I mean, like she said earlier, she invested in herself. She put her own into this. She's not a millionaire. She's just living like one because she's that good.
Sometimes.
uh, Oh, also, I forgot to mention because we had talked about this. You do have a podcast. It's currently on hiatus, but tell the folks out there about your podcast too, if anyone's interested.
Yeah, please. So we have tons of episodes that are out, and then we're gonna kick back into it real soon. But it's called the Ratchet and Woke Podcast. Myself and Unlearn the World host that, and we talk about a lot of just things going on in the culture, things that we find funny and entertaining, and we bring on guests and have conversations. But a lot of it has to do with just what's going on in the cultural landscape of hip hop.
I love it. Thank you again for sharing everything. And of course, all links are in the show notes. Do yourself a favor, click on them, follow her, like her music, give her that fraction of a penny, support this album, support her work and other artists that she works with. Check out these other amazing artists that she mentioned earlier. I guess the best way to end this is to just take that chance on the infinite possibilities of what could happen. I really like that when you said that. That was great. And again, thank you so much for being here. To all the listeners out there, until the next time, stay golden.